working with primarily women who are and who have moved from domestic violence relationships and or who have been sexually assaulted.
Wow.
So that's my niche. That's the work that I really get into. So.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's great. I grew up in a very abusive, alcoholic household. My dad was extremely abusive to my mom, and as kids, there were 5 of us. We saw it all, but it never happened to us. Like, he never took anything out on us, but anything that I did that was bad, which I was a rogue in my family, and anything that I did that was bad, he took it out on my mom. So, I grew up with a lot of guilt, and what you do is amazing work, and I've been very fortunate to have amazing coaches in my life to help me move past that, and actually just be grateful to my dad for teaching me so many lessons, and grateful to my mom for teaching me so many lessons. Instead of being, I was angry for decades.
Okay. Yeah.
So wonderful work. Thank you so much for doing that and for helping women through that. That's amazing.
Oh, I am a survivor of all of that. So, I don't approach anything with this fairy tale premise of, oh, it's going to be just beautiful flowers, and it's like, no, it for most things it's really almost a lifetime work, because as you level up and clear each level, then you level up, and then pieces of that kind of shows up again at that higher level that you need to address. And so really looking at always continuously growing and being okay with that. Right.
Yes. And that's a hard thing to get through, right? Because I've made so many really fast transformation. Like, this last 3.5 years has been a whirlwind. And actually, if I really lump it down, I'd say the first 6 months was a whirlwind. And then after that, my mind is open to let's keep going. Let's keep this whirlwind going of growth and personal development, and becoming a bigger, better person on a daily basis. And so being open to that getting open to that is the hard part.
Yes. Yes.
So how do you know?
A lot of times we don't want to really, it's like we know we need to be working with someone and that this will really help. But then when you really start to get in it, it's like, really, you want me to do what? I have to address what? I have to be honest about what?
Right.
So really getting into the crux and trying to really get someone to see what is actually going to be on the other side. And that can get to the other side. It's just going to take some digging. It's going to take putting in that work.
And that's a great point right there, is that for them to see what's on the other side. If you've never experienced it, it's almost impossible to see it. So it's like your job is to kind of help them to visualize how great it can be. And yes, it can be for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's such beautiful work. I really love it. Thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, I love it. Because for me, when I was going through all it really wasn't, people really dedicated to doing this type of work. You would have people that would talk to you, and then sometimes people would forget that certain questions and certain things that they do end up re-victimizing the person.
Mm-hmm.
So as they're telling you, you're going to be okay, it's going to be all right. Well, what were you doing there in the first place?
Yeah. Well, thanks.
It's like, okay, and so it's really, and I also try to work with people as well with helping them, other people, like if they have family members who are going through that, and how to be great advocates for them, and understanding that, first you have to start off believing what the person is saying, right? Mm-hmm. And understand that at the end of the day, all of it is still their choice. And our job is really to be there to support them regardless of the decision.
Yeah. That's so true.
That is a hard part for advocates, especially when it's a family member, who's an advocate. So.
Well, can we put you back to those times? Is that okay if I do that with you right now?
Yes.
Okay, because I'd like to talk about, the not talking about the abuse itself, but the feelings and the thoughts and the maybe any fears that were happening, while you're in the situation, but then even better, the fears that you experienced leaving the situation.
Right.
And then what got you to say, that's it, I'm not doing this anymore?
Well, I got married my first husband, when I got married, I was 18 years old. And he was 10 years older than me. That's my granddaughter, sorry. 10 years older than me. And so, as you mentioned earlier, I grew up in that environment. And so I guess the disheartening part of it all is that for me, he seemed to be my rescuer, right? So it's like for me, it was like he rescued me from all of that. And then after being married about 6 months, it turned into, I really became his emotional punching bag, right? And so first there was a lot of confusion because during the time that we were dating and, and different things like that, it was like totally like I was oblivious to like the signs. I'm not saying that they were not there, because as I began to study, I was like, oh, so that's what that meant. Oh, that's what that meant. And getting into now, it's like, okay, I've allowed this person to pull, to, in my mind, save me from a bad situation that I knew I didn't want to go back to. But now I had no place to go. Right? And so the fear of not having any place to go, the fear of, really trying to figure out how am I going to protect myself while I'm trying to figure out what my next move is going to be. Because it went from once to twice to every weekend. And then it went from, if someone said anything to me, then we're fighting. So now we're not just fighting at home, we're fighting in public. But then, and that lasted 3 years, maybe longer.
3 years. Well, let me ask you, well, first, share my first marriage I was 19. And, by the time I was 21, I had 2 kids. And that's when I left him. My daughter was only 4 weeks old and my son was 14 months old. And the same kind of thing. And as I look back on my time there, because, when you're in it, you don't see, well, as I didn't, I can only speak for myself. But when I was in it, I didn't see how bad it was. I grew up in that kind of environment. That was all I knew. And I just assumed that's what life was. Yes. Like, everybody's living that life. I've assumed everybody's, my husband would drive me to work every morning. He didn't work. He would drive me to work, yell at me the whole time, tell me how stupid and idiot I am, and all these bad things about me. And then I'd go into work, I'd gripe off the tears, and I was rosy and everything was happy. Nobody ever knew what was going on. But as I look back at that time in my life, I realized that I was really living in, I call it like my darkest, like that was the darkest, most difficult time in my entire life. And then to leave was a decision, it was the smartest thing I ever did. And I got to tell you though, like I know like this whole Me Too movement, because when I first verbally said out loud to somebody that my ex-husband called me stupid every day and said I was ignorant and said people are only nice to you because they feel sorry for you, I was surprised to see the gasp on their face that he said that, because I had never told anybody before.
Right.
And now I say it out loud because you know what? Yes, it's a reality. It was my truth. That's what was happening to me on a daily basis. I was almost embarrassed to say it out loud at the beginning.
Right.
But now I'm like, you know what? I shout it from the rooftops because that was what it was. And I know that's how I'm going to connect with other women who are going through that today. And I want to help them through that. So I don't know why I went on that diatribe. Sorry.
That's okay. No.
But so you're in that situation, and it's like 3 years, and it starts off like everything's okay. 6 months into it, it kind of starts to change, and then it gets worse and worse.
Right.
Now you're fighting in public. I've seen people
Right.
fighting in public before, and that really scares me actually, because I'm like, I don't know where that's going to go, you know.
Right.
But that's you. You're living
Yeah.
that, where you're
Yeah.
fighting in public, and what's next?
You know, finally it was one night, and we had this big thing, and he was a gambler too. So, and he went to the racetrack, and something just came over me, and it was like, you know what? And I hope I can say this, so hopefully it's like, I am not giving up any more free ass whoopings. Just not going to do it. And so when he came home, and you could almost tell, it's like you could smell it in the air when they walk in, right? And so I hear him just bloop, 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 just stomping, and I'm like, okay, here we go. But I had already made up in my mind. So I had, because this is the late 80s, early 90s, right? And so this is going to sound really rough, but
You got me on the edge of my seat.
Those switchblades that they used to have that you could just pop out.
Yeah.
Looks like a little thing, but then the way you could pop it, the blade pops out, and then you have a nice handle on it.
Yeah.
And so when he came in with his, stupid bit, all of this, I came and I had on the bare minimum of clothing, right? Because it wasn't going to leave anything for him to drag me around, right? I came up out of the bed with that switchblade. And then at that moment, he was like, what are you doing? You're crazy. And I was, so now I'm crazy.
Right.
You created this, and so, and the thing is that in itself still lasted a little while, right? But at that point, I was actually fighting back.
Yes.
That makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
I was actually fighting back. And so eventually we got to the summer, and I was like, okay, this is crazy. Because I had spent my life saying, you know what, I am not going to live the life that my mother lived. I am not going to allow somebody to do this and do this and do this and do this. And I look up, and I'm 21, 22 years old. And it's like, what are you doing? And so I decided one day he went to work, I packed all of my stuff, and I went to my grandmother's house. And when I went to my grandmother's house, I let her know. And of course, she gave me all her stuff about, I knew he was crazy. And then, and I'm like, well, why didn't anybody tell me?
Right.
Right. But I will tell you that for a week, after I left him, for a week, because my mother lived on one block and my grandmother lived on the other block. So there was a street that separated them. He would sit on the hood of his car with a double-barrel shotgun, waiting, yes, ma'am, to see if I was going to go from my grandmother's house to my mother's house.
Wow.
And I finally, after about a week, I called the police, because his brother was a police officer as well. So even when I called the police, when I was with him, it was like they would send him, he'd break it up, and all of this. And I called the police. I called 911, and I told them, I said, my husband is sitting at such and such street on his car with a double-barrel shotgun. And here's the thing. I've been with this man for almost 5 years. For 5 years, almost, I've been calling you guys to come help me. And I said, nobody helped me. I say, and today, somebody dies. And I know this is being recorded, so you're going to be held responsible, because everybody's going to know that you did not do your job when he was beating the hell out of me. Click. And I hung up the phone, and I BS you not. And I lived in the hood back then, right? In less than 5 minutes, they had him surrounded.
Wow.
And after that, he was like gone, because I told him, I said, you know what? I'm filing for a divorce. And I said, if you even try to contest it, it's going to be bad for everybody. And so that's how that ended. And
Wow. So, gosh, all that stuff going on. Were you, I mean, this kind of silly question. This is one of those questions like after somebody's family member dies and they ask, well, how do you feel? You know, this is going to be one of those kind
Mm-hmm.
of goofy questions,
Mm-hmm.
but like what kind of fears did you experience, you know, during all of this? It's
I,
unfathomable to
I
me because
I
I don't
lived in a
know.
space of perpetual like, am I going, at what point is this man going to take my life?
Hmm.
And recognizing that I had nowhere to go, and that I literally had to, I didn't call my grandmother and ask her if I could come to her house. I just packed my stuff and I went in and I told her, I said, I can't do this anymore. I said, nobody knows it. I said, but for the last 4 years almost, I've been getting my ass beat
Mm.
and I can't do it. And I think because, for one, my grandmother had never heard me say those kind of words and different things like that. She
Right.
was like, come in, because she knew then that, okay, wait a minute, yeah. And she believed me. But just okay, so what do I do now? Right. And I couldn't even really like think through the process of what to do, because anytime I tried to go anywhere, and he would be sitting out there.
Mm.
And it's like, how are you it didn't matter what moment I chose, he would be sitting out there on his car with that shotgun. So I lived just past getting out. I figured that, okay, I get out, I'm gone, I'm good. But no, he was sitting there for a week.
Right. Right.
So every day I wondered if, okay, am I going to make it through the day? If I do try to walk up, will he actually shoot me? Right? I'm grateful that I had sense enough not to try to test it, you know,
Right.
because when I stepped out on my porch and I saw him there, it's like, you know what, I don't want to die. And if this person has beat you for this long, thankfully I had gotten to the point to where I realized that, okay, this is not going to stop. It's starting to escalate,
Mm-hmm.
because I was in college and going to community college, now I'm having to wear shades to school. And it's like, Camelia, it's October. Why you,
Right. Right.
it's like, but just, and then even after that was all done, just somehow I began to really buy into this thought that I wasn't enough. And I went into the military, right? And even moving through all of that, just all this anger and aggression, and I mean, for the most part, being a female, that part helped being in the military, but just being in constant fear as to, who's going to be the next person that tries to do that, to me. So, yeah, I lived in fear a lot.
Wow. So, gosh, so you made it through that, and then, growing up in that, and then marrying that, and then, life doesn't change like that because now you're doing transformational coaching for women. And so with the work that you do, like what got you in the right headspace to even let me see, the question I want to ask is what got you into the headspace that made it so that you could now become an authority to help other women go through that and get in the right headspace?
You know, Believe it or not, because I was in the military and I had a real knack for being able to get people to tell me their real thoughts as it pertains to how things are going with the military and different things like that. And so even though I had particular jobs that the military sent me to, they would always have me holding positions where I was the one who was talking to soldiers and different things like that. And so then they started sending me to classes about sexual assault, about domestic violence, about, counseling and talking and coaching and different things like that. So really because of all the things that were happening in the military around those areas, I started to get that training via the military. And even though some of those things actually happened to me while I was in the military, which actually kind of pushed me into saying, okay, obviously there's something I need to learn. And so I would always be the first one to say, I'll go. And so in that, just really sitting in those spaces, learning, and really in my mind, learning how to help other people, in turn put me in positions to look at my own stuff, because we had to do exercises, right, in the training. And then I was like, wow. Because one of the things that kept coming up is like, you know, you have to deal with your own stuff so that you don't spill that out while someone else is giving you their stuff. So you have to be, and that's really what actually began to push me into really saying, okay, you know what? I really want to do this. I said, because no one should have to go through this, but if they do, there should be someone or something there that can help them. And for me, I kind of got the help, but I got the help with the premise of helping other people, right? And not necessarily because someone stepped up and said, hey, you know what? I see you're struggling with some things. What, you know, do you want to? It was because I was really able to talk to people, get them to tell me different information that where I can go and tell my commander, look, sir, you know what? You're kind of screwing up on this part. This is what our soldiers are saying. And then in turn, taking those classes. And as I began to do the work for myself, I was like, okay, yes, I can do this. And once I retired, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be, because anytime I think of not doing this work, it just sends me into this whirlwind of tears. And it's like, no, I have to do whatever I have to do in order to be able to hold this space.
Oh, I love that. It's so awesome, because you were in a position, you were put in that position in order for you to go through that gradual change. Mm-hmm. So yes. That you could see the changes that had to happen. I really believe, because I think we're divinely put into whatever positions we're put into, so we can learn what we need to learn so that we can share with others. Yes. And I believe that's what happened with you. Now let me ask you this question. This will be my last question. And do you believe that there is a shift happening on this planet in relation to, you know, getting into like more positive thinking? Do you think that's happening?
I do think it is happening. The only thing is that is really trying to get people to really understand that it can actually move a little faster if we hold that space of positive. Yes, we know, and there's always going to be people that are doing stuff that just is not cool, that is horrific. But the shift can happen so much faster if we continue to stand in a space to where, you know what, I am going to focus on the thing that makes me feel good. And I'm going to push that out. And as I push that out, it allows everyone else to know that, you know what, I can do the same as well. I can concentrate on, yes, I see you over there, Mr. Bad Thing or Mrs. Bad Thing. I don't want anybody to think that I'm, you know, I see you over there, but I'm not going to give you my energy, and I'm not, because I want to focus on creating that space that where if you even try to come over here, there's no room for you.
Yeah, you know what's so good about that is recently I've adopted a new saying for myself, and that's that because I talk so often our fear is about judgment. So what I've adopted is I do care what people think about me, but I don't let it affect me.
Right.
Which is what you're saying. You're like, I see you over there. You're a bad person, but I'm not going to let you get to me. I have power. And that's really just grabbing our power and saying, you know what, they can call me names. They can do whatever they want, but it's not going to affect me, because I can't remember who it was. It might have been Nelson Mandela when he was in prison. He said, you know, that he's not going to let that affect who he is, because that's when they take your power is when
Right.
you affect, is when you allow them to affect you.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my
Because
God.
then you buy into the craziness.
Yeah.
You buy into, it's like, oh my goodness, the world is this and it's doing this, and it's like, yeah, but that's why, because we're all focusing on it. We're all giving it energy,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we're doing, even though we don't want it. But if we make that shift and come over here and say, you know what, I am going to stay far enough away from it that where I can see it, but I am able to create those things that will make it null and void, that until that person or that thing over there gets themselves together, right?
Right. Right.
That's where they're going to be. I don't have to participate in it. And then being able to show others, you don't have to participate in it either. And as each one of us do that, that's how we create that big ripple, that large shift. Right now it's moving kind of slow because some of us are still in the, oh, that's bad. You telling me I can't, I have to ignore it. And well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what you helped me realize is really interesting. It's been about 3.5 years has been my journey since, self-discovery. Like I started that journey about 3.5 years ago. So I'm still a baby, right? But during that journey, so many people have said to me, you should be a life coach. You should be a life coach. And I say, there's too many life coaches. There's so many of them. But what you actually helped me realize, and I want to thank you so much for this, is that there will never be too many transformational life coaches, because we need to do that, because if we can have 75% of the people are doing transformational work, then that's amazing, because that lifts the vibration on the planet and makes everything so much better. So thanks for, it's like that was the moment I needed, for me to say, okay, it's time to step into that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Wonderful.
That's so cool. My life coach is going to be proud of me, because I've always resisted.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to be another one of those. There's so many of them out there.
Right. And the thing that I'm also learning is that you don't have to have millions, or thousands of people, in your niche. Is just really being okay with affecting, your part. And as you affect your part, then someone in there is going to be able to grow and then affect the next part, and so on and so on. And that's how we heal. I think, I really believe that's how we heal, is being able to allow ourselves to be open, be vulnerable, to teach, and then the next person will say, you know what, I can do that too. And you say, yes, you can. In fact, I need you to.
Right.
I can't reach everybody.
That's a good point right there. Yeah, because people will like me who won't like you, and vice versa. Or maybe they'll like us, but the resonance isn't the same, or they won't learn from one or the other, and that's okay. There's so many people to go around.
Right.
I can't help all 7 billion people on the planet.
Exactly.
Impossible.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me ask you, just with parting words to our audience, what would you say would be the biggest tip you can give them when they're in a fearful situation of what do they do to ground it and just like barrel right through it and move on to the next step?
I would say the first thing is going to be to breathe. Like our breath is like that saving thing, because what it does, it gives you those 5 to 10 seconds to say, okay, what am I going to do? And then you can see that exit, because when you breathe and you slow down, it all opens up. And you say, okay, I'm going to take this path. You take that path, boom. And then when you get there, you say, okay, what is the next best thing for me to do based on where I'm standing right now? Not where I was, but where I'm standing right now. And when we do that, it helps us, it allows us, and it keeps us standing in the space of the moment and always being present. Always being present. Because the now is what matters.
Yeah.
So that would be my parting words.
I love that, because it's be now, be present, because even if you think into the future, that's when fear enters too. Because what if?
Because is the future really real, right? Yesterday is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is just a premise. Because even when tomorrow comes, you're in now.
Right. Right.
You're in the now.
Yeah.
So it only exists in our sifting through, as I love Abraham Hicks, sifting through the contrast. That's it. But if we stay in the now, neither one of those can interrupt what you're trying to do or what you're needing to do in order to create those shifts, to make change.
That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Dr. Camelia Straughn, the Rising Star Life Coach. If you really enjoyed what you listened to today, please go visit her website at risingstarlifecoach.com and also go to her Facebook page and like her at Dr. Camelia Straughn Rising Star. And if you want to tune in for the remainder of the show, you're going to hear the after show. So listen up.
Thank you so much. I know this wasn't supposed to be I'm going to keep recording in case something happens. Like we're like, that was awesome. But so that's if you're okay with, I thought that was amazing, and I'd love to be able to put it on my Facebook page as well. I know you're not dressed like you normally would be, but my whole thing is about authenticity. Normally for my show I wear makeup and I do my hair, but like I'm a mess right now. This isn't what I'm normally like on my show. But
right.
I'm so into being authentic, and I've had a really hard time with doing the makeup and the hair. I just started wearing makeup about less than a year ago because my coach said, unfortunately, the world is so judgmental that if you want to do what you want to do, you need to. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to put some freaking makeup on. I'm like, ugh. So I only wear makeup because of judgment. If you're okay with it, love to be able to post that. Thank you so much. That was amazing. I hope you feel the same.
This is who I am, and I am always the first to remind people that my growth is still happening as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because like right now I have adult children, right? And really like the lessons that I'm coming into now is really being able to step back and recognize that they have their journeys. And even though we're co-creating, each one of us is creating our own of what we believe is our best self, our best life. And so as a parent, having to step back and to allow that to happen.
Yeah, it's hard.
Whew.
Well, what's interesting that you said that too is because like each one of us, is doing what we can to become our best self. But a week down the line, here I am a week later, and now I've learned something this last week that helps me to know how to even become a better best self.
Yes.
And it's, for me, the exponential growth, being open to it and then going along and making the changes along the way has been really crucial for my growth. And what it's done is it's made me not want to just sit still in one thing, which, they tell us with business, focus, follow one course until successful. What's happening, though, is I'm finding that when I focus on something, I become stagnant and I don't grow.
Yes.
And so I'm not allowing myself to become stagnant because I want to continue to grow until the last breath that I take.
Exactly.
So,
and that's how you make sure.
Yeah. It's amazing how my life is changing and evolving because I'm allowing myself to not stagnate.
Wonderful. That is beautiful.
Thank you. It's been an amazing journey.
Yes.
And I'm probably just going to keep all this in the video because this is all valuable content for everyone.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. I don't know how we found each other. Like I know it was through some Facebook group thing, or I don't even know what I posted that made you come, but I'm so grateful to have met you in my life. And what you're doing is like, I'm getting emotional just thinking about the work you do and the lives you're touching and the lives you're changing, because like you said it yourself, the ripple effect.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how can I support you? And what is it that I can do to support you?
Oh goodness. If you know anyone who is, having those challenges, and you can direct them to my Facebook page, and you have my email, so you can, let them know that, yeah, it's wow, because it's one of those things where I'm really at the point where just figuring out, how to create some things to where because this is really, to be honest, this is something I would do for free if it wasn't for bills.
Oh my God, that's what I say. Totally. It's because it's your passion, it's your purpose. And it's unfortunate that in this society we have to make money. If we didn't have to make money, we would do this. Like I would do this all day long for free because it's, oh my gosh, it's in my heart, right?
All day.
Yeah.
All day. And it's like, oh, can I just not have to worry about what's posting? Can I just go, to this shelter or go to this place and go to this place and, love on, these women and children and, and different things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just getting us out there to where we can really begin to move and to make that shift where we can, start to reach the people that we want to reach, or the numbers, however it works out. I know that this is the reason that I said yes to being brought into this physical space, and said yes to experiencing all the things that I've experienced, and allowing myself to, to grow and to move through it and stand on the other side, because there's someone out there that right now is saying, I can't do this anymore. But her can't do it anymore is not, making a shift to leave. She is possibly saying, I can't do this anymore, meaning she doesn't want to do this life anymore. And so being able to do the work to intercede in that and say, yes, you can. You can make that shift. You are important. You are enough, because you get to create the life that you want, no matter what's happening.
And you get to decide. Yeah, right.
Decide. Yes.
Wow.
You get to decide.